it's really important to know that our survival wiring, especially if we're in a state of acute or chronic stress, our survival brain is going to do whatever it takes to prevent us from rewiring our nervous system. It does not want us to break up our neurotags and create new ones because that requires calories. That requires energy. It's energetically expensive to rewire ourselves. Welcome to Plenty. I'm your host, Kate Northrup, and together we are going on a journey to help you have an incredible relationship with money, time, and energy, and to have abundance on every possible level. Every week, we're going to dive in with experts and insights to help you unlock a life of plenty. Let's go fill our cups. You may have heard me say it. You may have heard somebody else say it. Money loves clarity. Clarity is magnetic to money. It is also magnetic to everything else. However, for so many people, engaging with money, looking at money, doing math having to do with money brings up so much stuff, so much emotional baggage, so much nervous system dysregulation that they can't actually get the clarity that they know they need to have. And they end up just avoiding it for years, possibly decades. I certainly know because I was one of those people. I was racking up a whole bunch of credit card debt in my early 20s. I had no idea how much I spent. I had no idea how much money I made. I had no idea how much debt I had. And I thought, unconsciously, because when I say this out loud, you will see that this makes no sense, but like there was a part of me that I think was magically thinking that someday, somehow, someone would come along and save me so that I would never have to deal with it. Well, spoiler alert, that never happened. And I'm so grateful that no one came along and saved me because I never would have found out what I was made of. I never would have built the strength that I have now and the level of financial power that I feel right now and the level of clarity that helps me move through the world in a way where I have agency and choice and where I feel like I can co-create the reality that I desire, or at least that is in my highest possible purpose because, sometimes I don't get what I want. I get what I need, just like everyone else. So what does money clarity have to do with you? Well, if there's any part of your life where you have financial vagueness, and this is really, really common, the bummer is that financial vagueness is a money repellent. When money does not feel safe and cared for, it will not come to you. And so financial avoidance is a surefire way to make sure that money will avoid you. But financial clarity creates magnetism. Now, so many people, like I said, don't actually feel fundamentally safe with money. And that's usually unconscious. I don't think most people would say I don't feel safe with money. Most people would say, I want more money, but then they ignore their money. So that doesn't align, right? That's a misaligned action. That's a misalignment in their energy around money. But what is it? Why is it that we don't feel safe getting financial clarity? Why is it that sitting down and creating a spending plan with your partner can bring up so much emotion? Why is it that when we sit down with our CPA, we can feel like our heart is beating or we disassociate and, leave our bodies or whatever may happen? Well, that is because of something called Neurotags. So Neurotags are kind of like a fingerprint of brain and nervous system activity. And Neurotags are a series of inputs of different stimulus in our external environment that creates a particular output. And those inputs are associated with particular experiences so that we create an output. And that output might be a specific behavior, a specific sensory experience, a specific emotional experience, or some kind of dysregulated nervous system response in the hyper or hypo department: fight, flight, freeze, fawn, flop. So what do we do about our neurotags having to do with money? Well, I'm going to give you a practical example. So every year at tax time in my household growing up, there was a tremendous amount of stress. My dad would have piles of paper all over the dining room table, all over the living room floor. And there would be several nights where he stayed up all night long. He was clearly unavailable for anything else. There was tension between my parents. There was this real sense of stress and pressure around time and money. Now, I didn't know really what taxes were at the time. I was a kid, but I knew they had to do with money, and I knew my dad was stressed out, and I knew that emotionally my parents were not available at that time. And so there was a sense of retreat, of emotional nurturing and emotional safety. There wasn't like crazy yelling, or it wasn't particularly scary in a direct way, but there was an absence of presence. So what that created from repetition, right? The more an experience is repeated, the more, the literal more space that neurotag takes up in your brain. I'll explain that in a minute. But basically, it was repeated, so it got ingrained in my neural pathways. So there were several stimuli that created that neurotag of money. Dealing with money leads to emotional discomfort. Like that was the straight and narrow neurotag, right, for me. So there was the stimulus of paperwork. There was the stimulus of tax time. There was the stimulus of conversations about money. There was conversations between my parents about money. There was like financial details, right? So these were all particular stimulus associated with a particular experience that I had as a child that I didn't really have information or details about. And so it created a neurotag, which is an unconscious way that we respond in our brain and nervous system to particular stimuli. And the more often that particular pathway, neural pathway, is used, the more myelinated it becomes. What is myelination? Myelination is basically if you have a neural pathway, which is specific neurons that get fired together over time, they actually get a coating in them called myelin. And that coating gets thickened over time. So those neurotags literally take up more brain space, like more area, more mass. It is similar. Myelination is like if you have an iPhone charger or you have any kind of electrical cord, that plastic coating around the outside so that it sends the electrical signal or the electrical current where it needs to go and so you don't get shocked. That's the same thing as myelination in our brain. Our nervous system is essentially our body's electrical system. So the deeper the thicker the myelination is determined by the repetition of the number of times you have used that neurotag. Now, that was like a lot of science, and you may have already left your body. So come on back. Like if you just spaced out, it's okay. You totally don't need to understand everything I just said. If you're a science nerd like me, welcome. I'm so glad now you know a little bit more about neuroscience. But for anyone, whether you like that or whether you like science or not, what we need to understand is that our response to financial situations is largely illogical. And our beliefs get wired in with those neurotags based on emotionally charged experiences in our life. And our neurotags are essentially the anatomy of beliefs that live in our brain and nervous system. Those beliefs, that wiring, those neurotags, that neural patterning, like that footprint that sends out a repeated series of neural signals in our system is not necessarily based on whether or not a belief is true, right? So if I were to articulate exactly what my Neurotag had to do with financial clarity and getting clear on numbers, I could say that my belief unconsciously was that financial clarity is emotionally unsafe, right? That was my experience. I witnessed my father moving towards greater financial clarity. And as a result, there was an emotional fallout and a lack of emotional attunement in my household. Okay. So that belief was wired into my nervous system. It was a neurotag. It didn't mean it was true, right? Of course, logically speaking, moving towards financial clarity does not automatically mean there's emotional distress. In fact, as I've over time rewired myself and worked with my own circuitry to dismantle those neurotags and build new ones, which is what I teach people how to do in the Relaxed Money program, as a result, I have new neurotags and therefore new beliefs. And a new belief that actually I have found to be true over and over and over again is financial clarity leads to abundance and peace. So that is absolutely true now in my lifetime. It took a while though, because I was a big financial avoider. So in order to create financial clarity, which is absolutely essential for your financial health, you first need to learn how to feel safe in your body as it relates to money. If you have past neural patterning that associated anything financial with any kind of physical lack of safety or emotional lack of safety, this is going to take a minute. And I promise you, it is worth the investment in repatterning yourself. So where can you start? Well, if you've been listening to Plenty for a while, you know I have a lot of different nervous system healing tools that I recommend, but one of my favorite ones is quite simple, and it is breathing into your lower back ribs. So we can try it together right now. So even if you're driving, even if you're walking, you can practice this tool. So what you want to do is on your next breath in, send your breath to your lower back ribs. I recommend breathing in through your nose and out through your nose because that helps to activate the parasympathetic nervous system response. So here we go. We're going to inhale, sending the breath to your lower back ribs, and then exhaling in your own time. And take another one when you're ready, inhaling lower back ribs. Exhaling. And let's do another one. And this time on the exhale, you can let out an audible sigh, which tones the vagus nerve, is also excellent for parasympathetic response. Inhaling. Exhaling with an audible sigh. Obviously, that one you have to do through your mouth. Okay, so that is one simple tool you can use to, in small, doable parts over time, signal to your body that it is safe to engage with money. Now, one thing to understand, which I've talked about before on the podcast, but if you're new here, hello, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. And for all of us, we need to hear this stuff a million times. I said that our nervous system is the electrical system of our body. So if our body were a house, our nervous system would be the electrical wiring. Our brain defaults to survival patterning because we are animals. And especially if we have an an overflowing stress and threat bucket. So maybe we have a lack of sleep. Maybe we have high cortisol levels. Maybe we are feeling lonely. Maybe there's been a lot of negative media. Maybe we've been eating a lot of junk food. We've been traveling a lot. We are having a conflict with our partner. Our kid is having trouble at school. Maybe there's toxins in our environment. Like there's so many different ways that stress and threat, maybe we are having an experience of perceived or real financial lack. All of those things can contribute to your stress and threat bucket, and they reduce your ability, your capacity to approach new things that consciously or unconsciously feel a little hard. Like to do things that require focus, clarity, and a little more energy. So if you've been a financial avoider, or if you just suspect that more financial clarity would be useful for you, then you need capacity. Doing nervous system healing drills can help you to dump or essentially metabolize your stress and threat bucket so that you can increase capacity. Why is this important? If our body were a house, our nervous system and our brain are the electrical. And redoing the electrical is expensive. From a physiological standpoint, what that means is changing neural pathways, especially if they are deeply myelinated, like if that myelin is thick and they've been used a lot of times, rewiring, like breaking that down and then repatterning, takes a lot of calories. It literally takes a lot of energy. If you are dealing with mitochondrial dysfunction, if you are dealing with metabolic dysfunction, if your energy stores are jacked up, which most of ours are for a variety of reasons, which is kind of another topic for another day, but you can go back and listen to the Sarah Kleiner wellness podcast about light, and you can dive into that a little bit. We'll link it in the show notes. It's really important to know that our survival wiring, especially if we're in a state of acute or chronic stress, our survival brain is going to do whatever it takes to prevent us from rewiring our nervous system. It does not want us to break up our neurotags and create new ones, because that requires calories. That requires energy. It's energetically expensive to rewire ourselves. So we engage in nervous system healing practices. We love on our nervous system. We practice increasing our energetic capacity to metabolize our stress and threat, to dump the stress and threat bucket so that we increase the energy available to be able to engage in things that feel a little or a lot hard. And that's why I love to teach practical nervous system healing practices like the lower back rib breathing and the audible sigh. So know that your financial clarity matters. It is probably, if not one of the most important factors for creating financial power and abundance. Clarity is power. Money loves clarity. Clarity is magnetic. But in order to create financial clarity and actually know, what do I spend on a monthly basis? What do I make on a monthly basis? What do I have in invoices for blessings already received, also known as debt? What are my financial goals? What do I need to have in investments in order to be work optional someday? Like all of these things require very simple math that you are more than capable of doing. However, you may have neurotags that tell your body that engaging in financial clarity is actually a threat to your survival. Engaging in financial clarity is not a threat to your survival. You know that logically, but your body doesn't. And so when you signal safety first and free up more capacity, you then can repattern yourself so that you don't have to freaking feel like you're pushing a boulder up the hill and like you have to use willpower and motivation every time you do a financial clarity activity. Over time, it will become who you are. And believe it or not, it'll actually become fun and something you look forward to. that is coming from someone who has had the experience of going from a chronic financial avoider to someone who really looks forward to my money date every single week. I promise you, you can have this experience too. And all it requires, it's not easy, but it is simple and it is straightforward and it can be easier in community, is some rewiring. So money loves clarity. Clarity requires safety in your body. I'm so glad you listened to this episode. It is not a common conversation that other financial folks are having, but it's an important one. It is an absolutely critical ingredient. And if you want to dive deeper, I do encourage you to check out the Relax Money program, because this is what we dive into among so many other things. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. If you're seriously committed to healing your relationship with money, the place to start is my book, Money, A Love Story. It's available in print, it's available digitally, but it is also available on audio in a completely updated and revised edition. So no matter what your book consumption preference is, this is the place with exercises, healing strategies, and repatterning strategies to get started healing your relationship with money. Money, A Love Story is available wherever books are sold. Go get yourself a copy.